5-Minute English Lesson. Phrases for School and Study. Welcome to your 5-Minute English Lesson. Today you will learn useful English phrases for school and study. Each phrase is numbered and followed by an example showing how it is used. Let's begin. Greetings and classroom basics. 1. Hello, everyone. For example, you say this when greeting the class. 2. Good morning, teacher. For example, you say this politely at the start of class. 3. Good afternoon. For example, you say this when class is in the afternoon. 4. How are you today? For example, you say this to politely start a conversation. 5th, my name is Anna. For example, you say this when introducing yourself. Understanding the lesson. 6th, I don't understand. For example, you say this when something is unclear. 7th, I understand. For example, you say this when the explanation is clear. 8th, can you explain that again? For example, you say this when you need more explanation. 9, can you repeat that, please? For example, you say this when you didn't hear clearly. 10, can you speak more slowly? For example, you say this when the teacher speaks too fast. Asking questions in class 11. I have a question. For example, you say this before asking something. 12, what does this mean? For example, you say this when you don't understand a word. 13th, how do you spell that? For example, you say this when learning new vocabulary. 14th, is this correct? For example, you say this when checking your answer. 15th, can you help me? For example, you say this when you need assistance, homework, and assignments. 16th, we have homework today. For example, you say this when class is finished. 17, when is it due? For example, you ask this about the deadline. 18, I forgot my homework. For example, you say this if you did not bring it. 19th, I finished my assignment. For example, you say this when your work is complete. 20th, can I submit this tomorrow? For example, you ask this if you need more time. Studying and learning. 21, I'm studying English. For example, you say this when talking about your studies. 22, I need to practice more. For example, you say this when you want to improve. 23, this is difficult for me. For example, you say this when a topic is hard. 24, this is easy to understand. For example, you say this when something is clear. 25, I'm learning something new. For example, you say this when you gain new knowledge. Polite classroom phrases. 26, excuse me. For example, you say this to get the teacher's attention. 27, thank you. For example, you say this after receiving help. 28, you're welcome. For example, you say this after someone thanks you. 29, sorry, I'm late. For example, you say this when arriving late to class. 30, see you tomorrow. For example, you say this when class is over. Great job. You have completed your 5-minute English lesson for school and study. Practice these phrases to feel more confident in class. Subscribe for your next 5-minute language lesson.